People ask me all the time, why do you love Ahwatukee so much if you don't even live there anymore? But honestly, the answer is simple. Because Ahwatukee was the first place in Arizona that truly felt like home to me. It's where I first started imagining a life here, where some of my favorite family memories were made, and where I still find myself going back to even now. When I first moved to Arizona, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to put down roots. Like a lot of people who relocate, I was trying to figure out what area felt right, not just look good on paper, but felt right in real life. I stayed with my sister and her family while I researched different places, and at that time, she lived in Ahwatukee, near Horizon Honor School. And something about Ahwatukee got me almost immediately. It was the rolling hills, the view of South Mountain. It was the way the area felt kind of tucked away, but not isolated. It was how convenient everything seemed to be, except for the traffic before the 202 loop extended. That was not fun at all. I remember noticing how close so many of the stores were, how easy it felt to get what you needed, and how the area gave you balance. It was actually pretty rare. It had a neighborhood feel, but also had everyday convenience. That combination really stood out to me. There's also defining things about Ahwatukee. It has this reputation for being a community where people can enjoy parks and neighborhoods, hiking, shopping, and day-to-day life without feeling like they constantly have to leave the area. The city of Phoenix describes Ahwatukee foothills as a village built around family-oriented outdoor living, quiet master plan neighborhoods, and scenic views. And that really matches how it feels when you're there. The Ahwatukee Chamber also highlights that residents often have shopping, restaurants, and services close by, which is exactly what I noticed early on. I fell in love with the area. And for me, a huge part of that was South Mountain. If you know Ahwatukee, then you know South Mountain isn't just a backdrop, it's part of a lifestyle. It changes the way the whole area feels. It gives Ahwatukee this desert edge, this sense of space that's hard to explain unless you live near it. I loved that hiking was also right there. I loved that nature felt accessible. I loved that the mountain made the area feel grounded and peaceful. And it's not just my emotional take on it. South Mountain Park and Preserve is enormous, more than 16,000 acres. And the city says it has over 100 miles of trails for hiking, horseback riding, and mountain biking. It's one of the largest municipally managed parks in the nation. So when people say Ahwatukee offers an outdoor lifestyle, it's not just a slogan, it's real. Eventually, Ahwatukee became a place that I liked visiting. It became home. My first home with my son was in Mission Park Ranch. And that home will always hold a special place in my heart because it represents such an important chapter in both my son and my life. There's something unforgettable about your first home as a family, especially when it's tied to raising your child and building your future. One of the things that really stood out to me in that neighborhood was the value of the HOA. My son loved the different pools that were included in the, I thought, very reasonably priced HOA fees. And that made such a difference. It wasn't just about a list of amenities on paper. It was about real quality of life. It was about having places to go and places to play and ways to enjoy where you live without feeling out of reach. That part of Ahwatukee has long appealed to families exactly for that reason. Communities in the area are known for their neighborhood amenities, parks, and recreation that make everyday living feel easier and more enjoyable. In nearby Mountain Park Ranch, for example, the community highlights multiple recreational areas with pools, children's pool areas, playgrounds, tennis, pickleball, and parks. And those kinds of amenity-rich neighborhoods experience as part of what people love about Ahwatukee living. And some memories are so small that when they happen, later you realize they were actually huge. Jonathan learned how to walk in that home. And that's one of those life moments that you never forget. When I think about Ahwatukee, I don't just think about neighborhoods and mountain views. I think about the seasons of life. I think about being a young mom, building a home, and watching my son grow and creating the kind of memories that stay with you forever. That's why when people talk about a neighborhood, I always think they're talking about more than streets and houses. They're talking about life stages. They're talking about where little kiddos learn their first word, no. And it's forever enshrined on their parents' brain. They're where birthdays happen. They're where kids learn to swim. They're where my son played soccer as a 3-year-old. And I still smile about watching that little mob of legs chasing the ball. So funny. Anyways, for me, Ahwatukee is tied to all of that. A couple of years later, I met Mike, we got married, and we moved out of Ahwatukee. And that could have been the end of the story, but it wasn't. Because even though I didn't live there anymore, Ahwatukee never stopped being meaningful to me. I've driven back into the foothills many times over the years, especially during Christmas, just to enjoy the lights. And if you've seen Ahwatukee during the holidays, you know exactly what I mean. There's something so special about seeing Chandler Boulevard lit up in the median and the rest of the community glowing around those holiday lights. It feels festive and warm and familiar. It's one of those traditions that instantly brings back memories, and that holiday tradition in Ahwatukee really does have roots. Light Up Ahwatukee says that Chandler Boulevard, the median light tradition, began in 1986, originally as a way to showcase the foothills community. Today, the area is still known for the seasonal lights and holiday celebration, including family-friendly events at the Desert Foothills Park. That matters to me because it says something deeper about the community. Some places are convenient, some places are beautiful, and some places have good schools. But places that create traditions that people can return to year after year, that can feel different. It means the place has heart, and Ahwatukee, to me, has always had heart. Another major reason that Ahwatukee stayed as an important part of our family story was school. We made our decision to change schools before my son started 9th grade, and Horizon Honors won in our eyes. It felt like a big decision because, well, it was a big decision. Choosing a school is never just about academics. It's about environment, culture, values, support, and where your child is going to spend a big part of that time of their life. And in the end, Horizon Honors was the right fit for him. He ended up graduating from there, and I'm happy to say that. And that's a full circle moment for me because the area near Horizons was part of my first impression of Ahwatukee when I stayed where my sister was. Then years later, the same school community became part of my son's story too. Horizon Honors describes itself as a tuition-free public school organization in Ahwatukee, serving students from kindergarten through 12th grade. And the school says its campuses are graded A by the Arizona Department of Education. The school also highlights continuous learning across its elementary and secondary programs, which helps explain why many families are drawn to it for the long term. And honestly, I think it's one of the reasons that Ahwatukee leaves such a mark on people. It has layers. You can love it first for the scenery, then for the convenience, then for the neighborhood feel, then for the parks and hiking, then for the traditions, then for the schools, then for the memories that you can build there. It keeps becoming more and more meaningful over time. That's what happened to me. At first, I was just trying to figure out where in Arizona I wanted to live. Then I discovered a place that felt beautiful and practical. And I became a mom making memories there. Then, even after moving away, I kept returning because part of my heart was still there. That says a lot. I think one of the best ways to describe Ahwatukee is this. It feels connected. Connected to nature because of South Mountain. Connected to daily life because of the stores, restaurants, and services nearby. Connected to family because of the neighborhood parks, pools, and schools. And connected to a tradition because all those little things that people come back for year after year. That's why I love Ahwatukee. Not because it's trying too hard to impress me. Not because it's flashy, but because it feels livable. It feels beautiful in a way that becomes part of your routine. It feels community-centered. It feels familiar. And for me, It holds some of the sweetest chapters of my Arizona story. It's where I first imagined a future here, and it's where I raised my son in his early years. That's where he learned how to walk. It's where we enjoyed neighborhood pools and the rhythm of family life. It's where school choice later became a major benefit for our family. And it's a place I still return to, especially when the holiday lights come out and the foothills glow again. So when people ask me why I like Ahwatukee, the answer is not just one thing, a bunch of things. It's the hills, it's the hiking, it's the convenience, it's the neighborhoods, it's the memories, it's the milestones, it's the traditions, it's the feeling. And sometimes it's the best kind of answer, because the places we love most are usually the ones that become part of our story.